Well folks, the hashtag Free Tory movement has never been stronger, and that's evidenced by the fact that the petition to have him pardoned has now garnered over 321,000 signatures. And that's for good reason, because as a prosecutor myself and as someone who's followed this case closely since the trial back in 2022, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that this was an absolutely ridiculous case from the beginning and should never have been brought to court. And that's simply because these prosecutors had nowhere near enough evidence to convict Tory of this crime beyond a reasonable doubt. And in fact, I would argue there's stronger evidence proving his innocence than his actual guilt. But regardless, through some legal shenanigans that I'm sure we'll get into in today's video, they managed to get their conviction and they got Tory sent off to prison for 10 years. Which then fast forward to these last few weeks, as I'm sure most of us know, the case has been brought back into the headlines because Tory's team is presenting new evidence of his innocence and Megan's team is responding with their own claims of his overwhelming guilt, which, by the way, my last video I made on this case, I went through that PowerPoint that Meg's team put out, went through it line by line, and managed to expose and debunk lie after lie. And so if you want to see Megan get caught red-handed in her lies, I would recommend you watch that video after this one. But in making that video and posting it, I got tons of great comments from folks saying I really need to check out the 36 Hours Later website that has all the evidence of Tory's innocence. So that's what I'm going to do today, is go through this website line by line the same way I did for Meg's PowerPoint and see what adds up and see if there's anything in here that might not add up quite as good and might be misleading. So if you're interested in this case, then be sure to watch this video all the way to the end, because you're going to get the best, neutral, unbiased breakdown of Tory's side of the case that'll make you more informed about this than 99% of the idiots talking about it on Twitter. So what's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Scotty O, aka the Gen Z attorney, and I currently work as an assistant district attorney in North Carolina, meaning I'm a criminal law guy. I'm in courtrooms all day every day, and make videos on this channel covering high profile cases like this one and breaking them down so you know what's really going on with them. And so if you like me talking about the Meg versus Tory case, then be sure to drop a like down below to let me know to make more of them. And if you like this kind of content talking about these high profile cases, then subscribe to come back for more. And last but not least, drop some comments down below. Let me know, are you team Tory or team Meg? And what do you think about this 36 Hours Later website? Because who knows, whatever you say might be the inspiration for my next video. And that's my favorite part of this channel, is being down in the comments talking with y'all. But enough of all that, let's just jump into this website and see what we can find. Alright, so here we have it. This is 36hourslater.com. This is the website, all that is covering basically Tory's side of the case. And we're just going to go through it. So the truth uncovered. Suppressed evidence proves Tory Lanez is innocent. Truth becomes clear when the facts come to light. Key inconsistencies, unreliable testimony, and missing evidence prove Daystar Peterson, aka Tory Lanez, was convicted based on a flawed and incomplete narrative. Through Megan Pete's own words, police reports, and expert analysis, facts suggest Tory Lanez did not fire the weapon and tried to stop the conflict. Case deserves to be reconsidered as the new evidence points to a different truth. Alright, so basically here, the two overarching narratives we have going on is Megan's side, which is that there was an argument that took place in the car based on Tory sleeping with both Meg and Kelsey. The argument led to Meg getting out of the car and walking away. And as she walked away, she sees Tory getting out of the car, leaning out of the car with a gun, and hears him say, "Dance, bitch," and shoots at her feet. And the bullets fragment and hit her in the feet and cause her to start bleeding. Tory's side of the story is that, yes, there was a love triangle reveal that happened between him, Kelsey, and Meg. That led to Megan and Kelsey start fighting. At which point Meg was putting the hurt on Kelsey because Meg is a stallion, 5'11", and Kelsey is apparently 4'11". And it was during this fight that Kelsey is the one that then gets the gun and is shooting it, and that's when Tory goes to break up the fight and try and wrestle the gun away from Kelsey. So that's kind of our two narratives we've got going on here, and we're going to go through the facts here. Yeah, here we have a fact checklist, and let's see if this is corroborated. Any of this corroborates, well, which side these facts corroborate more. First up, Megan told police and doctors she stepped on glass, not shot. This is true. She did say this at the time. Tory was also saying this at the time. So this is, fact check, true. She was first claiming she stepped on glass. Now she says it's because she didn't want to tell the police that there was a shooter or she was shot because she didn't want to see anyone else get shot. And she cited BLM and George Floyd. This happened in 2020 for that. But regardless, it is true, though, she was stating at the time first that she was bleeding because she stepped on glass. Video and officers confirm Megan stepped on a glass bottle, not hit by gunfire. Okay, we'll have to see if they actually have video of this, of her, I guess. Well, I don't know how could you have video of her stepping on a glass bottle? I imagine it's going to be just more clips of her saying that she stepped on a bottle, but I guess we'll see. John Kelly, this is the neighbor. His testimony is very important. And his testimony was cited, don't forget, it was cited by Meg's team in the PowerPoint that they put out, as Sean Kelly is basically a witness that backed up their side of the story, even though, that was totally misleading the way that they quoted him. But let's see how Tory's side quotes him. Testified that two women fought in the street, one fired first, Tory was still in the car. Fact check, true. This is also what he said, that it was when the two women were fighting, that was when the first flash and the first bang was seen and heard. So yes, fact check true as far as he saw the first gunshot happen while the girlies were fighting. Next, Kelsey tested positive for gunshot residue. Her DNA was never tested against the gun. Fact check true again. Yes, her hands were positive. They did test and found gunshot residue on her hands, but they never decided. They decided, oh, I guess we don't need to take her DNA and test it on the gun, even though there were 4 DNA profiles on the gun, 2 of which were women. Yeah, definitely don't want to see whether or not she was one of the people whose DNA was on the gun, which is crazy. Kelsey received free rent for a year after the shooting. Who paid and why? Something interesting to look into. EJ said an object in the girl's luggage looked like a gun. Not sure who EJ is. I guess we'll find out. Megan claims she spoke out in response to Tory, but the timeline proves she went public first. Ooh, spicy. Yeah, because she's claiming that she had to accuse Tory of doing this because he was lying on her and speaking out publicly against her. So we'll see what the timeline says. Tory's DNA was not found on the magazine, only 0.01% on the gun. Statistically irrelevant, meaning, yeah, it was inconclusive, which also, once again, true. There was 1 DNA profile on the magazine, and it was excluded to be Tory's. And as for the gun itself, that's where there were the 4 DNA profiles where the test was inconclusive that it was his, meaning it could not be excluded, but also could not be included. And so here they're saying it's 0.01% chance, statistically irrelevant. 90% of DNA on the gun belonged to an unknown male, not Tory. So this is something that would have matched up. If this was Tory's DNA, that would have been corroborated by the DNA test. So yes, very interesting. Tory's jail call apology was about the drama of sleeping with 2 friends, not a shooting. Another thing I pointed out in Meg's PowerPoint, she used the jail call as evidence. She used it saying that Tory confessed that his call to Kelsey was a confession where he admitted to shooting Meg. But no, he didn't. He did not admit to anything. He just said he was sorry for what happened. Did not say what happened. Just said he was sorry, which his explanation is that, yeah, he's apologizing for the drama that this created because that drama led to a fight, and that fight led to a potential shooting. Tory's repeatedly said, I would never do anything like this. True. This is something he said. No bullet fragments on x-ray, no nerve damage, fractures, or joint trauma in Megan's medical records. I'm very curious to learn more about this because the surgeon did testify at the trial, the one who removed whatever he removed from her feet. Up to this point, I had no issue believing it was bullet fragments because it seems, uncontested that there was gunshots. I mean, it was on the ring audio that there were gunshots that were fired. And the surgeon, who has lots of experience in stuff like this, testified that it was bullet fragments he was removing. So I'm curious to see what more we can learn about that. Bullet fragments were lost and were presented at trial. Curious to learn more about that as well. Prosecutors misused Tory's rap lyrics, tattoos, and uncharged allegations to sway the jury. So this can get interesting because this is really going to be up to the judge on how much of this comes in. Because the best example I can think of is the YNW Melly trial, famous, of course, for his hit song "Murder on My Mind," and then gets prosecuted for murder. And the prosecutors in that case wanted to use the song "Murder on My Mind" to show basically his motive or his thought process. And the judge ultimately excluded that song because he felt it would be more prejudicial than probative, meaning, right, it would unfairly bias the jury to hear the song that's all about murdering somebody because the defense is, oh, this is just artistic expression. This is not a serious proclamation of what it's like to murder. So that's an example of that case. But then you can compare it to the Young Thug trial where some songs that he made were played during the trial. So it's up to the judge to decide whether or not to let in songs or lyrics. Tattoos, I mean, I guess it's going to depend on the tattoo because if it's clearly visible, then it's something like the jury can see for themselves. But if it's not, if it's something that's being covered up, I can see how that might not be relevant to coming in. And then uncharged allegations, that is absolutely something that should not come in because that's now character evidence, which is almost always excluded except for some very narrow exceptions. So that's very curious to see that as well. All right, Kelsey's story changed multiple times. She admitted to lying under pressure. Fact check, true. She did. She initially said Tory shot Meg. She then gave a police interview where she appeared to corroborate that story. But then when she actually came time to testify, she admitted to lying in that police interview. She recanted her story, and then she pled the Fifth Amendment as to not incriminate herself. So, yeah, Kelsey, terrible witness through and through. So, yeah, that is true right there. Megan's own timeline and injuries don't match the story of the shooting. Okay, we'll have to see what's said about that. A couple extra notes. Tory was not on probation at the time of the incident, was not a felon, nor did have a criminal record before this case. Owner of the gun has been sealed, has never been determined. Facts don't add up. The case against Tory Lanez is built on shifting stories, missing evidence, and lies. Tory Lanez did not shoot Megan. So far, yeah, a lot of this is very factually accurate, and there's a few things that I want to learn more about that we are going to see. All right, table of contents. I guess don't need to read that because we're just going to get into it. In her own words. Oh boy, we got the receipts now. We got recordings, baby. Yeah, let's get it. In her own words, I ain't get cut by no glass, but let me tell you why they're saying that.
I ain't get cut by no glass, but let me tell you why they saying that. I ain't get cut by no glass.
Why are they saying that? Okay. Stepping into the truth. Oh, I like nice pun there. Yeah, stepping into the truth. Glass or gunshot. Following videos 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, and 4B show Megan Thee Stallion injured at the scene, stating she was cut by glass and not shot. Officers on site also confirmed that she stepped on a glass bottle. These clips are key in understanding the initial reports and the shift in her later statements. So regarding these claims of Megan stating that she stepped on glass, yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, it's undisputed that she did in fact state this was her claim initially. I think so. I'm not going to play through all these to see her statements, but what the officers are stating, I think, is very important.
Shooting or anything? That's how we got dispatched.
Well, we have the gun here, and then we have other units. They're searching the house where it happened. So that's all we have so far.
So nothing happened in the vehicle.
No, we don't have any casings. No.
Okay, from what you've been told. Okay.
And then there's some cash over. Looks like.
Was the person who got caught with the other people here that you have in handcuffs? Were they all together?
They were all together.
Yes, they were all in the same car.
Okay. And then, do we
Is that
know
blood on the suitcase?
how she got cut?
I believe when she stepped down, there's a glass.
She dropped a glass bottle, and then I think she stepped on it and cut herself.
Okay.
And getting out of the vehicle.
Okay. So,
I mean, that's not that strong. You're speculating as to what you think happened. Yeah, that's not particularly strong.
It's right down in Florida.
Yeah.
Do they see the bottle?
It's right down in Florida.
Okay. There is the bottle then, and looks like some bloody footprints.
Yeah.
Okay. It's body cam. Okay, this is. Okay, so that's the bottle falling out.
Show us your hands. Come out with your hands up.
And
Okay? Come out, people passenger with their hands up. Hands up. Alright.
I mean, yeah, she's real close to the bottle. The only thing I think kind of cuts against this is when you go back to the beginning here. Okay, so this is the bottle that fell out, and this is her stepping out. It's hard for me to buy that this, I mean, you've got clear bloody footprints here. Those don't just, it's not like she would, I don't think she could have stepped on the bottle right here, and then her feet got so covered in blood that she's leaving full footprints as she steps. That just seems unlikely. Although it certainly is awfully close, but to me it still seems, at least based on this, the more likely explanation was that her feet were already bleeding from inside the car, which is why they were able to get so covered in blood to the point where she steps out and leaves these clear footprints. But yeah, that's crazy. Look at those footprints. Let's see if there's anything else from this. Just her stepping away.
It's right down in Florida.
Yeah. Huh.
She cut
Let's
herself
see
when she
what
stepped
else.
out. She cut herself when she stepped out.
So who's saying that?
She cut herself when she stepped out.
Okay, unclear who's saying that, but unless it's someone who saw it, again, it's hard to really say.
Move back in time, my boys.
Move back.
Back.
Oh, she cut herself.
Okay, saying, oh, she cut herself. Once again, it's just officer speculation. This is not the strongest. It's not like we got a definitive answer from any of these clips. The most interesting was definitely seeing that one where the bottle fell out and seeing she walked right by it. But like I said, I think with the full footprints, I don't see that as being. I'm not fully convinced it was that she stepped on glass. So we'll just have to see more about what the surgeon had to say. But, all right, in her own words, the police blank was being so rude.
I get to the motherfucking hospital, the police bitch being so rude to me. Well, what's going on? Like, da-da-da-da, you're being detained, da-da-da. Ma'am, I'm being detained, I'm leaking. But I'm still not saying what happened. Shit crazy.
Okay. But what happened in the hospital? What did Megan say happened in the hospital? Police calmly spoke with Megan, who said she stepped on glass and mentioned she already had cuts on her right foot from stepping on glass days before. Huh.
And so what happened with the cut? You were just one ball stepping on glass. I had another cut on my right foot. I just stepped on glass the other day. So you were already hurt when you got into the room. And then at that point, your friends were running down from the hospital.
Hard to tell what the officer is completely saying there, but yeah, had another cut on my right foot, just stepped on glass the other day. Interesting. How she really has a habit of stepping on broken glass, but yeah, I'm still not convinced. Still not convinced that she actually did step on glass. But in other words, I tried to keep it off the internet. However, Megan spoke first. Ooh, here we go.
So, since y'all hoes so worried about it, yes, this nigga Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and shit. Stop lying. Why lie? I don't understand. I tried to keep the situation off the internet.
Okay, so she's accusing... Oh yeah, she's officially coming out saying he has lied. He is now lying about her, and she has now decided to come clean, tell the truth, say, he shot me. Alright, saying... And yeah, one of her claims is that... look, we got a whole flow chart and everything. Oh, this is great. Okay. Megan claims she spoke out in response to Tory, but the timeline shows she went public first. Nothing negative as this. That's why I didn't want to say nothing in the first place. This would have never came out if Tory would have never went to the internet telling everybody his side of the story. Terrible because I didn't want to say anything in the first place. Not only did I not say anything, but now you want to get ahead of it and make yourself look like you're some type of victim. Question: Why you did not want to say you did anything in the first place? Objection. Asked and answered. I think we've covered that. Sustained. What was your plan when this first happened, as far as what you would say? I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't want it to go anywhere. I'm embarrassed. I know you told police that you stepped on broken glass. About 4 days later, did you come forward to police and tell who shot you? Yes. And was that to a detective? Yes. In those 4 days, what brought about the change of heart? Had a change of heart because I saw online that he had tried to start getting ahead of the story and put it on a bunch of different narratives about what happened. Okay. So yeah, very definitively, she's claiming he was the one that started going public first. Here we go. Let's see the timeline. July 15, 2020. Megan posts about being shot. Narrative that is being reported about Sunday morning's events are inaccurate, and I'd like to set the record straight. On Sunday morning, I suffered gunshot wounds as a result of a crime that was committed against me and done with the intention to physically harm me. I was never arrested. The police officers drove me to the hospital where I underwent surgery to remove the bullets. I'm incredibly grateful to be alive and that I'm expected to make a full recovery, but it was important for me to clarify the details about this traumatic night. I'm currently focused on my recovery so I can return back to my life and back to making music as soon as possible. I remember when she posted this too, and this is what kind of clued me into the case in the first place, because this right here, a lawyer wrote this, absolutely. Because listen to how weird this is written. Only a lawyer can write something this weird. On Sunday morning, I suffered gunshot wounds as a result of a crime that was committed against me and done with the intention to physically harm me. That sentence right there, I was like, what? And this is right before I went to law school. It's July 2020. I started law school August 2020. And so I'm already getting in lawyer mode, lawyer brain, and I'm like, that's just such a weird way of writing that. Like, this does not sound like the truth is coming out here. To just say it in such a roundabout, weird way. Why not just say, someone shot me? It's like, I suffered wounds as a result of a crime committed against me. Yeah, it's just weird, but okay. So then, next day, July 16th, she names Daystar to police. 7/27 goes live on his birthday. Live about Tory Lanez situation. 8/20/2020, Megan publicly names Tory as the shooter. September 24, Tory tweets for the first time to my fans, I'm sorry for my silence, but respectfully, I got time today. 9 Pacific. Then speaks on IG Live responding to Megan. On October 2020. So, okay, and that's it. There could be more here. There could be more here that's not being mentioned in this time frame here of why she named him. Like, was there anything being said behind the scenes that, yeah, where she would feel like, well, if he's going to talk about it this way, then I'm gonna say it too. This didn't really disprove either that Meg was the first one to name it. They're saying Tory's first tweet, yeah, okay, maybe his first public statement was about it at this time, but if he's talking to other people, if word is getting out, and now granted, maybe this could be the case where Tory was not saying anything publicly, of course, and in fact, he wasn't even really saying anything privately, but other people maybe started speculating that this is what happened, and then Meg starts to think, well, that the only person who could be spreading this has to be Tory, so she falsely believes he's the one doing it. So honestly, I hate to say it, I just don't think there's enough information here to definitively say one way or another who started talking first. Because, I mean, I have to go back and check to be totally positive. But did Tory really not make any comment about the incident for over 2 months, 2.5 months, and then not actually talk about it on live for 3 months? I mean, maybe it is the case, but I don't know. I'd like to see more here. So far, I mean, there's some interesting stuff so far. But I think there's enough that's being left out that I'm like, just a little bit like unfulfilled. Like I want to see more. I want to see more coming from Tory's side in putting together a website like this. And as soon as I say that, here we go, getting into something that I know from my own knowledge is going to be totally backed up on what Tory's saying, because now we're talking about what Meg was saying. Saying, quote, in her own words, I never put my hands on anybody. Let's watch it.
I never put my hands on anybody. I never raised my voice too loud. Like, this was one of them times where it was like, it shouldn't have got this crazy.
It shouldn't have escalated to the way that it did.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. Yes. And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, dance. He started shooting, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, he shot a couple of times.
So, yeah. Never put my hands on anybody. This is this is one of the big sticking points that when I learned more about this, I was like, oh, she's lying. Oh, she lying big time, because to say she never put her hands on anybody and let's see what the evidence says, and we'll see if I have anything to add, but here we go. Evidence says otherwise. Megan and Kelsey had a physical altercation. This, I fully believe is what happened. Eyewitnesses and physical evidence indicate physical fight between Meg and Kelsey. Kelsey had open wounds and cuts on her leg that were actively bleeding. No injuries were reported on Tory. The fight was between the women. And here we go. Pictures. So, I can't tell. I think this is Kelsey. Is that a bump that we're looking at here? Not sure. Either way. Yes, here we go. Look at that. Claw marks, scratch marks. Are these Tory's long manicured fingernails that are scratching? Or is this someone who might have actual long fingernails? I don't know. No one in particular that I can think of that might have long fingernails. Oh, no one in particular. Just a total. Oh, yep. So we got claw marks, scratch marks. Evidence of Meg and Kelsey fight. Nothing on Tory here. Megan's song lyrics from Shots Fired. Who a snitch? I ain't never went to the police with no names. I thought a bitch that got her chain snatched caught a loss had something to say. So it appears to be a reference to Kelsey and having fought Kelsey. This is certainly more than nothing. However, there's even more to the story that I think they could have included here, which was testimony from the officers about the fact that Kelsey had clumps of hair missing and had a broken fingernail that was on the ground, and I'm trying to remember what else. It was scratches, clumps of hair, broken fingernail, and a strap on her bathing suit. That's right, a strap on her bathing suit that was broken. So, as I said in my response to Meg's PowerPoint, if anyone who's seen videos of females fighting before, there's a lot of hair pulling and there's a lot of scratching. And so the fact that Kelsey had injuries that are completely consistent with her fighting another woman, and the fact that Kelsey's so short and Megan's so big, I imagine Meg was beating her butt pretty bad, to the point where, are we really that shocked to think that maybe Kelsey takes a gun out because she's getting her ass handed to her like she was? So yeah, there's even more evidence that could have been included here that was not. In her own words, there's a witness, and his name is Sean Kelly.
The people in the neighborhood, there's a witness. When the police came, because the neighbors called the police.
Yes, Sean Kelly, the neighbor. Eyewitness Sean Kelly told police and later testified under oath that he saw two women fighting in the street. All right, let's start with the testimony. And what did you see next, sir? They were fighting. They had started fighting. The two girls? Yes. And when you said the two girls were fighting, could you describe to the jury what you observed? What were they doing and what were they fighting about? Not about, but how were they fighting? They were pulling their hair and hitting each other. And it was quite violent. Quite violent. This is initially when you still only see the two girls, correct? Yes. And what happened at this point? Was the fight continuing? Was it stopped? They were fighting for a while because I told my son to come into my room and I asked him to get into my bed too. And then they were still fighting. They was all bent over, sort of wrapped in each other, fighting. Okay, let's see what he says on body cam.
Wait.
No, it didn't. No?
They shot out of the car?
The windows were open, that's why it sounded like either way. Yeah, I didn't really they were on my side. The girl opened the door, it was two girls fighting, and then they shot. And she got out of the car and crawled over.
Yep, two girls fighting. And, yep, not entirely clear what he's saying there. So I think his testimony at trial is going to be more reliable as being under oath. But all right, Sean Kelly's testimony. Testified two women were fighting. One of them fired the first few shots while Tory was still in the car. He said Tory got out afterward and tried to take the gun away. Okay. All right, defense asking questions. Okay, did you state, sir, that the shorter gentleman didn't come out of the car until the initial shot fireworks had started? Yeah. Excuse me? Yes. Really? You're going to make him say yes instead of yeah? Okay. So when the initial shot or fireworks had started, isn't it true that you stated that my client was still in the car? Yeah, I believe so. The shorter gentleman was in the car. Yes. Okay, and did you state that initially you saw the two girls fighting? I did, yes. Did you say that after you saw the two girls fighting, you saw one of the girls shoot, sir? I believe so, but thereafter, did you say that the shorter guy got involved at that point trying to take the gun away? Objection, leading, overruled. Yeah, it's cross-exam. You get to ask leading questions on cross-exam. That's a dumb objection. Okay. Is that what you said, witness? Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so it's just, remember, keep in mind through all of this, Meg denied fighting Kelsey. Denied it outright, said that she never put her hands on anybody. But here we got the witness that she's saying, oh, there's a witness, by the way. Yeah, and look at what this witness is saying. He's calling you out, saying you're a liar. Sean Kelly's statement to investigator. In a separate interview, Sean Kelly said he saw Kelsey and Megan fighting violently, with Kelsey attacking Megan front passenger. So Kelsey rear passenger, Megan front passenger. Driver Jaquan, the bodyguard here, tried to intervene. He stated that a woman fired the gun while Tory Lanez, described as the shorter black guy, was still in the backseat of the SUV. There's no way Tory fired the gun 5 times. Okay, now keep in mind, this is a separate interview. This is not at trial. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. Same way I said we have to take Kelsey's statements with a grain of salt, what she said out of trial versus at trial. But regardless, though, let's see what he has to say.
The doors of the Escalade open, and the girl come out and pull open the passenger door and started screaming and yelling at somebody in the car.
So the girl who came out of the passenger, you're talking about the front passenger?
No, the rear.
The rear passenger. So the girl comes out of the rear passenger and she goes to the front passenger?
Yes.
And she opens up the car door?
Yes.
And then what happens?
They're screaming and shouting at each other and they start fighting.
The two girls?
Yeah, I can see one feet coming out trying to kick her and the other one's fighting, and then the passenger gets out.
So the girl who does the punching and the kicking is the girl that comes out of the back passenger?
The front. Can we stop there? Because I don't want to. I'll tell you, and then I want to go. My son's on his own.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't want
and it's loud with the cars.
And I don't really want to. So basically, the car stopped. The girl in the back got out, started screaming and shouting, ripped the door, pulled the door open, but pulled it so sort of viciously. That's why I presume the driver got out. She starts screaming. She starts hitting the girl. The girl then had to start, her feet come out. She starts to kick the girl away. One passenger. They get out. They start fighting here. They start fighting. The driver comes around and tries to sort of break it up.
So yeah, there's the key. The driver comes around.
It's a bit more violent. And between them, the girl then climbs back into the front driver passenger seat.
Where's the shorter black guy?
He's in the back.
He's in the back of the car? Okay.
Yep. That's yep. That's significant.
Then the gun. Then the girl shoots it. The driver's door's open.
You're seeing the girl shoot?
Can I help you?
Have a minute, please.
I think, is it this house?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
So you see the girl doing the shooting?
I see what appears to be the girl standing here and going and shooting into the car. That's what it looked like to me. But it was dark and I'm above, so. But then the guy gets out again.
Yeah. So it's more. Once again, taking these with grains of salt. That it's the out of court. It's a pretrial interview. The most important thing to go off of is going to be his trial statements, where he still is corroborating the same story that what he saw. He saw the girls fighting. Sworn eyewitness testimony. Key witnesses corroborate Sean Kelly's story. Together, the statements of Smith, James, and Kelly paint a consistent picture. Two women were fighting. A woman fired the gun. Tory tried to de-escalate. Okay, there's a lot of statements here. Okay, making sense of all these names. So Smith is Jaquan Smith. He was the driver in the car that night. James is Kelsey's bodyguard. He's the one that has since come forward and has claimed to have overheard Kelsey stating that she was the one who shot Meg. And then Kelly is the neighbor, Sean Kelly. So, okay, statement from Jaquan Smith. Now this I wish I could zoom in more, but I'm just gonna have to rock with it. So. Sworn affidavit from Jaquan Smith dated December 5th, 2023. So this is after the trial. Yeah, after the trial. Okay. I was a driver bodyguard for Mr. Daystar Peterson, who's better known as Tory Lanez, July 2020. He's known me for 7 years at the time of the incident. I worked for Tory for 3 years. Also a close personal friend. I was asked to drive him. We all left the house, but I was asked by Meg to return because she stated she'd forgotten a shoe. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Peterson returned to the car after a few minutes. Was bickering, unsure what exact words, seemed upset. We left Miss Jenner's residence, began to drive. Meg started to fight with Tory. They were going back and forth. Remember Tory saying that he was going to tell Kelsey what was going on. Don't remember what street we were on, but Meg asked to stop the vehicle. I did as she asked. Meg went to sit on a nearby bus stop. Tory went and spoke with her. After 2 minutes, they returned to the car, began driving again. Miss Pete started the argument again. Miss Harris asked what was going on. Mr. Peterson told her that he and Miss Pete had been dating and intimate. Miss Harris was upset by this, as she and Mr. Peterson had been dating in the same manner. Prior to any relationship with Meg and Kelsey began fighting. I pulled over to stop them, I being Jaquan Smith, bodyguard. Miss Pete and Miss Harris both got out of the vehicle, continued to fight, both verbally and physically. I broke up this fight and was pulling Miss Pete towards the back of the car. I saw Miss Harris with a gun in her hand. Tory ran from behind Meg and myself toward Kelsey. Tory and Kelsey began struggling as Tory tried to unarm Kelsey. I was still pulling Meg and did not see who shot the weapon. I was lucky I was not harmed, and in my opinion, Meg was also fortunate. The whole incident happened so quickly within just a couple of minutes. I wanted to present this evidence during Tory's trial, but was prevented from doing so as the district attorney was not ready to cross-examine me, and later they did not call me due to holidays in the court schedule. I believe I should have been allowed to present this evidence at trial. Okay. That's where we get really interesting, because my original video I made on this, I similarly criticized the defense's decision to not call Jaquan Smith because he was in the courthouse ready to testify. It was noted, though, that he did go speak in chambers with the judge, which I found interesting because it's not often that a witness will talk in chambers with a judge. Well, all the counsel, the prosecutor, defense attorney, will go talk to a judge with a witness present. So the fact that he was there means to me they were talking with the judge about his testimony, which, with that in mind, actually makes a lot of sense. That what they were talking about, apparently the DA wanted to have this conference in chambers to say, we're not ready to cross-examine this guy, and if we want any hope of getting this trial done before Christmas, then he needs to not testify. So, yeah, that actually adds up a lot, or makes sense quite a bit. Now, the defense's response to that, certainly, you're in a sticky situation. You're in a catch-22 because on the one hand, you say, F that, we wanted to testify, you get ready, we'll wait as long as we have to, even if that means coming back after Christmas. On the one hand, you do that, you're running the risk of pissing off the jury, who wants to also be done by Christmas, and who knows, maybe they hold that against you. But on the other hand, if you don't have them testify, this is a material witness. This is a incredibly important witness to what happened that night. And the fact he didn't testify, it can be held against you as the defense, because the jury is going to be asking, why didn't he testify? What was he going to say? So, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense there. So, but also too, the fact that I can't really hold this against him. The fact this is an affidavit from a year after the conviction, because yeah, he was there, he was ready to go, he was just never called. This one, on the other hand, this is the new one that has come out, the new evidence as presented by Bradley James, who was Kelsey's bodyguard from the trial, stating, Kelsey hired elite security to accompany her to court the 2 days she was testifying. It's the only time she has been a client. I've not worked for Tory nor Meg. I heard these statements as we were in the car getting a bite to eat after court. We went to a restaurant named Fixin's. Miss Harris and the father of her child were the only people in the car. She later also said similar statements to her attorney of record in front of the courthouse and in the cafeteria. She was nervous and speaking generally, asking questions. Her lawyer was telling her it would be okay. She could plead the fifth if she was uncomfortable. I heard Miss Harris question, how can I not tell myself? And how am I protected if I tell certain things? The father of her child explained immunity to her. Fixins, Miss Harris stated that she shot the gun 3 times in the air, and Tory ran up to her and grabbed her arm, pushing it down, causing the gun to fire twice more. That's the key testimony right there, key statement. I have not said these statements until now, as I have heard rumors of the threats that others had received from being involved in this case. Also, I did not want to lose my employment, as I rely on such to care for my children. I was trying not to eavesdrop, but I could not help but overhear these statements. Generally, elite security does follow confidentiality, yet we do not have such an agreement on file, and I decided to come forward as this has been weighing on my conscience, and decided the right thing to do is come forward with this information. So this is the bombshell. This is the banger right here from Bradley James, who was her bodyguard, overheard her stating how many times she shot the gun, what happened. And the reason he didn't come forward is because, I mean, if you're a bodyguard, your job revolves around people hiring you to protect them in confidentiality, that they can trust you, that they can speak freely around you, and you're not going to go to the media about what you're talking about. I mean, celebrities rely on this stuff all the time. So if you're a celebrity bodyguard and you have a reputation for spilling the beans, yeah, of course it's going to affect your employment. So it makes sense that he would not just immediately come forward. But then in the light of Tory getting stabbed 14 times, that might change his mind in thinking that, wow, he's innocent. He's an innocent man who almost died in jail, and in part because I didn't come forward and share what I overheard. So yeah, that's could be the silver bullet right there, is Bradley James' testimony. EJ's testimony. Okay. Don't know who EJ is, but we're about to find out. EJ's testimony suggests gun in a girl's bag. EJ King, Meg's former stylist, said an object in her purse looked like a handgun. EJ said he may have seen things that looked like a gun in the bag or purse, but he never asked questions or confirmed that they were. This adds to the reasonable doubt. If Kelsey had the gun, there's great possibility Tory cannot be the shooter. So, but it sounds like EJ is talking about Meg having the gun, but maybe Kelsey got it from Meg's purse is what is being suggested here. But either way, looks like this is trial testimony. You can't tell us for sure it's a handgun, but you've seen something like a handgun. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Sir, when we were upstairs just a few minutes ago, do you recall stating that you have seen things that look like handguns? Oh yeah, it looks like, but like I said, if I picked it up, no, but something like it, yes. Well, let me ask you this. You may have not picked that up, and you're telling us you don't know if it's an actual working firearm, correct? Right. Have you seen anything in any of the bags or anytime you've been out without security? Have you seen anything that resembled something that looked like a weapon, a firearm, possibly? Yes. What do you mean, possibly? Is that a yes, sir? Yes, possibly. I don't go through them to check for a firearm, but I may have seen stuff in bags that I packed, but like I said, I haven't. You never ask questions. You never ask what this is. Is it a firearm? No. So this doesn't seem, I don't know, I don't think this weighs too heavily either way, because we don't really have any definitive statements. We have someone saying something that seems like a gun, but he really can't be sure. So without a tighter connection to the case at hand, about maybe he packed a specific bag, the bag that Meg took to this party, and the bag that was later found in the car. And he packed it, and he knew there was a gun in there. That'd be helpful. But this seems a little too vague, a little too disconnected to be totally considered here. All right, Harris's testimony, inconsistent and unreliable. It's another big factor here that swung me against Meg's side and against the prosecution, was their over-reliance on Kelsey Harris in her testimony and treating her as a star witness when, in all likelihood, she was the one that actually did the shooting. Kelsey Harris initially told prosecutors she witnessed the shooting, but later recanted on the stand, admitting she lied under pressure. Her Fifth Amendment plea and contradictions compelled the prosecution to introduce her prior statements in full, highlighting their unreliability. Her credibility was compromised, raising reasonable doubt. Okay, more transcripts from the trial. I can't tell you the time, but yes, July 12, 2020, and you saw what happened during that shooting, didn't you? Again, no. The way I was positioned, honestly, no. I didn't see anything. Okay, in September so now going back to the past interview. So when you interviewed with us in the past, it was not a blur, correct? Again, I said things to protect myself that night. Okay, well, you said that day. You said it's a blur. You're trying to protect yourself, but you're telling us you didn't see anything or you didn't hear anything. It's a blur, is that right? I didn't see anything. It's the classic. I don't recall. I didn't see anything. Again, when I spoke with you, I said a few different things. Question, did you shoot Tory, or did you shoot Megan? No. Who shot Megan? Again, when I was getting out of the car, all I heard was shots. I didn't actually see. Did you tell us that when you looked at maybe the second or third gunshot, that's when you see Tory, and he's in the front seat, and he must have jumped over into the front seat, and he's leaning over the door, over the window? Do you remember telling us that? Again, our interview was not 100% truthful. All right, another big part here. Kelsey confirmed she was not bribed. Kelsey Harris testified under oath that no bribery occurred. No financial records or corroborating evidence support the bribery claim. Meg's claim here was that after this all happened, Tory offered $1 million to both of them to not go public and basically to shut up and lie about what happened that night. All right, there's also been a lot of talk about bribery, and before I go into the facts, I want to talk about that. Has my client paid you anything? No. There's talk about hush money that Megan's people have put out there. Has my client paid any money to you, ma'am? No, and I would actually like to make that very clear because I've seen some things earlier from her attorney, and I'm tired of that lie, so no. Ms. Harris, I never asked them to, give me a spot. They did this voluntarily, and for a year, which was not normal. So this is new. This is something I'm learning just now. After the incident, Kelsey received rent for an entire year after not speaking with Megan since the incident, covered by Megan's team. The term they has been used repeatedly. Why? This is very interesting because they had a falling out from that night. Understandably so, since the most likely scenario is that Kelsey shot Meg and they were best friends. So they were best friends who started sleeping with the same guy and then fought about it and then one shot the other. So yeah, naturally they had a falling out. But interesting how after they fell out, apparently Meg's team was paying her rent for a year. Yeah, now is this witness tampering? I wouldn't go that far. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it certainly does speak to just the unreliability of the entire side, the entire narrative coming from Meg's side. Next up, in her own words, he is standing up over the window shooting, but he never touched the gun. Ooh.
In the car, shooting from the car, Megan?
He is standing up over the window, shooting.
Yep, so once again, her claim that Tory was the one who was leaning out from the passenger side doing the shooting. But he never touched the gun. So let's see the proof for that. DNA proves Tory Lanez' innocence. Forensic expert testified that 90% of the DNA on the weapon belonged to an unknown male, not Tory Lanez. His DNA was not found in the magazine. Software used for analysis had documented instability and potential for false matches. Expert testified that if Tory had fired the gun 5 times, his DNA would be expected on the weapon, but it wasn't found. Female DNA was found on the gun, and Kelsey tested positive for gunshot residue, but her DNA was never tested against the gun. Tory Lanez' DNA was not on the magazine and only 0.01% on the firearm. This amount is incredibly small, equivalent to picking a blade of grass from a football field. All right, looks like some expert testimony. I don't know if I want to go too deep into this because I think this really covers the gist of it. Is that his DNA was not found on the gun. On the gun itself, well, the magazine was excluded. The gun itself was inconclusive. But the real key here to me is, the fact that Kelsey tested positive for gunshot residue, yet they never bothered to test her DNA to see if she was one of the 2 female profiles on the gun. And also, yeah, the fact that if he had the gun, he had fired it 5 times. Think of the force in your hand of a gun firing and how much it kicks back into your hand. And so that level of kinetic force is going to rub off your DNA, whether it's your skin cells or really anything having to do with your hand. It's going to be on the gun, especially firing it 5 times. So yeah, the fact that it wasn't found, very interesting, very interesting. And the fact they never tested Kelsey, also very interesting. FYI, let's see. Tory Lanez defense expert didn't receive the STR mix worksheet until the last minute due to a Brady violation. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so Brady is a famous case basically saying prosecutors have an ethical duty to disclose any exculpatory evidence to the defense, meaning any evidence that would help the defense or defendant that a prosecutor obtains through their investigation, that has to be given to the defense. So they're saying the defense expert did not receive this worksheet until the last minute due to a Brady violation. The worksheet only turned over at the defense's request showed Tory Lanez was just a 0.01% contributor to the gun and excluded on the magazine, limiting the defense's ability to properly challenge the DNA evidence. Prosecution used up all the DNA samples so it could not be retested. Oh, how awfully convenient. But I wonder if Brady violation, they're using that here in a colloquial sense, meaning like they felt like it should have been turned over sooner and it wasn't, but then they got it either way. Because if there's a true Brady violation, like you're having a hearing on that, you're talking about potential sanctions against the lawyers. So to me, I don't see that any of that happened. So it seems to me it's being used more in a colloquial sense of just they felt like something wasn't disclosed fast enough. But all right, in her own words, why would I lie?
Why would I lie? You want me to be a bad person so bad, and y'all motherfuckers want to believe the lie before you believe the truth.
Why alter the text? Aha, okay, this was something that was pointed out in in my last video by several different comments, so I'm glad I get the chance to address it now. The text message evidence appears edited. All right, text messages used in court differed from versions shared publicly by Megan's team. All right, this is the text that was received into evidence. So yeah, this is an exhibit. This is from the trial. This is the one that would be considered reliable because this is the one that was authenticated and submitted into evidence and received into evidence, all under the penalty of perjury if anything in it was false. So this is the text. This is from Kelsey to Meg's bodyguard, where she states, "Help, Tory shot Meg, 911." So that is what was said. However, when you get into the text that Meg's team has been putting out, oh, there's an extra message and handled me. So even though that doesn't go to the core crux of the case, it's just why. It raises the question, why? Why are you altering messages? Why are you photoshopping stuff to make Tory look worse? Yeah, missing phrases raise questions about whether evidence presented to the jury and not to the public was selectively edited or incomplete. Absolutely true, too. If you've got something that you've just found out, you've proven is fake, is false, what's to say the rest of what you're saying is not fake or false or misleading? Yeah, that when y'all in the comments, you pointed that out in the last video, I was like, nah, there's no way. But nope, here it is. It's true. They did it. All right, in her own words, dance, bitch. Let's see.
And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, dance.
Did he really say that? All right. Audio undermines the dance bitch claim. The now public Ring camera audio confirms 5 gunshots, but does not capture Tory Lanez saying dance bitch. Okay. You could hear their conversation correct. Yeah, quite clearly. Excuse me, quite clearly. So yeah, Sean Kelly, this is his testimony. Quite clearly, but at any point did you hear anybody say dance bitch? No. And now, Kelsey, when you got out of the car, did anybody say dance, bitch? Did you hear a word? Did anybody saying dance, bitch? No, I don't know where that came from, so no. So it seems everyone here is saying, no, that wasn't said. Nobody said that. And so I hate to say it, but it just, the only person who is backing up, is corroborating the story as Meg tells it, is Meg. She's the only one telling that version of events. Everyone else is telling a different version of events that is all consistent with each other. Like all these other witnesses are telling the same story, and it's all, I mean, there's tiny variations here and there, but that's natural when it comes to eyewitness testimony. There's going to be an inherent some level of unreliability, but yeah, the fact that they're all telling a largely similar story, that just speaks so much how in the world is the jury going to buy the one person saying the one story, this case being Meg, at the cost of all the other people? But it's just crazy. So anyway, all right, the Ring camera gunshot audio. Let's see. Right, 5 shots. You can hear the cadence there. It's 3, pause, 2. Now, granted, we don't know how far away this is. There's no way that it's conceivable that this would not have caught any voices. The fact these gunshots weren't even that particularly loud, and we know how loud gunshots are in real life. I think what's notable too, though, okay, 4:22 a.m. is when this happened. And when are we saying this? So this is consistent. Yeah, 4:27. Yeah, this is the real text. It's very simple. That saying she texted this right after the shooting happened. So 4:27, timing matches up. But you get over here, it's hard to see here, but in my other video, some folks pointed out in the comments, it's like 7:30 a.m., like 7:27 or something. So yeah, just totally doctored, totally misrepresented, but either way. But also too, though, yeah, this cadence, though, the 3, pause, 2 is consistent with Kelsey shooting the gun 3 times, and then Tory getting over there to try and wrestle it away from her, and there's 2 more shots as he's wrestling it away. So yeah, only Megan has claimed this dance bitch, quote, unsupported by any audio or witness evidence. In her own words, I thought the doctors were the police. Which doctor, Megan?
I get to the hospital, the doctors do x-rays on my feet. Oh, ma'am, you got bullets in your feet, got bullet fragments in your other foot. I'm thinking the doctors is the police, so I'm still trying not to tell them, like, no, I didn't know I got you know what I'm saying? I'm scared. Like, I've never been shot before. I don't have to lie about that.
I would just note here, how interesting is this that all these clips they're pulling are from one video, one live that she did, which is just Exhibit A of why you don't say anything, why you shut your mouth and let your lawyers do the talking, because she is just giving away so much just from one video that they were to build an entire website based on basically just this one video. But, man, all right. Medical facts don't match the narrative. Despite these conflicting reports, 24-26, none of these doctors were called to testify in court. Okay. This is all new information for me, so let's learn together. 24. Dr. Anthony Lafredo described injury as laceration from broken glass. There is no mention of gunshot wounds, fragments, or ballistic trauma. Also described Megan as pleasant and no acute distress. Dr. Milton Little, orthopedic, diagnosed bilateral gunshot wounds based on imaging. He removed 3 small fragments under general anesthesia and called wounds superficial, yet performed surgery. Claimed fragments were bagged and given to police. Anna Howell, plastic surgery, described wounds as superficial and cleanly closed. X-ray showed no fractures, minimal residual shrapnel. Dr. Howell treated for cellulitis infection, discharged without mention of ballistic trauma. So, I mean, this one is probably the most interesting. You've got the ER doctor saying broken glass. However, I think we can chalk this up. It's understandable to chalk this one up to Meg is the one who's saying, yeah, I stepped on glass. So he's looking at that. He sees fragments of something. She says it's glass. He might just have said, okay, she says it's glass. I'm marking it down. It's glass. Moving on to the next. This one does say, though, bilateral gunshot wounds based on imaging, and then he had to remove 3 small fragments under general anesthesia. So he is pointing out bullet fragments here, and then here we're also talking about minimal residual shrapnel, which the one doctor who did testify, the surgeon who testified to removing bullet fragments, he did testify that there was residual shrapnel left as well, so that corroborates that. Claim fragments were bagged and given to police. I think we're going to get more into that later because there's claims that the evidence was mishandled on that. Forensic red flags and medical doubt. Key medical findings, radiology report, no radio pack foreign body. Now, okay. Caveat all this, I'm not a doctor. I'm a lawyer, not a doctor. So I may be rather uninformed in some of this. Like radio pack, don't know what that is. No bullet fragments clearly visible on x-ray. Estimated blood loss only 5 milliliters, far too low for gunshot wounds to both feet. I mean, we saw the bloody footprints, so yeah. Wound closure, wounds were closed immediately, uncommon for gunshot injuries due to infection risk. Interesting, didn't know that. No bone or joint damage. Rare for true gunfire-related foot injuries. Bullet fragments removed by Dr. Little but never preserved. Detectives admitted in court that fragments were lost. Okay. Actually, let's look at that right now. 28. The 3 bullet fragments were saved, packaged according to standard protocol, and passed off to appropriate authorities. Multiplanar fluoroscopy was then obtained of the bilateral feet, demonstrating successful removal of the major bullet fragments. There were tiny fragments of retained missile that were noted, however, deemed too small to attempt retrieval. So, wait, that's 28. You're saying they were lost. This is not saying they're lost. This is saying they were saved and packaged and sent over, but I don't know. X-ray, bilateral feet, acute fractures. Okay. Conflicting diagnoses. So the ER doctor said broken glass, the ortho said gunshot wound, and the plastic surgeon said infection. Well, I mean, that's not entirely inconsistent. If they're saying wounds were closed immediately, uncommon for gunshot injuries due to infection risk. So they're saying you don't close gunshot wounds because of an infection risk, but these were closed. And then the next day, the plastic surgery doctor saying, yes, there's infection. So, I mean, that seems consistent with it being gunshot, bullet fragments. And as far as here is the bone or joint damage, rare for true gunfire-related foot injuries. As I remember from middle school biology, the feet have the most bones in the body. And I can imagine how it's very easy for any gunshot wounds to the feet to be very severe. However, sounds like these are just small, tiny fragments that hit her, so I can understand how those didn't do too much damage. But either way, much of this evidence was never presented at trial. Tory Lanez's original trial counsel joined the case late, limiting the defense's ability to investigate medical because that's what I was going to say too about all this stuff about pointing out inconsistencies or having 3 different doctors with different stories. Why didn't any of them testify? You can say all day long the state never called any of these doctors. They only called the doctor who said the surgeon who removed the bullets, but didn't call any of these 3. Well, true, that may be true, but also defense, you didn't call any of these 3 either. So it's not entirely on the state at that point, but regardless. All right, this is what I'm most curious about. Fragments went missing. Let's see what's going on here. Preliminary hearings, detective stated bullet fragments were missing. 30 is the exhibit. Now, the bullet fragments, which were allegedly removed from Megan's ankles, they can't be located, correct? Correct. And you indicated that you reviewed the medical reports from the cedar, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get different stuff. Yes, that is significant. Especially you've got them saying they cannot be located. It's kind of crazy how they are not able to be located because chain of custody is not that hard to maintain. The surgeon packaged it up, gave it to police. Police will label it and transport it directly to the evidence locker, and it gets stored. And that's pretty much it. So the fact that they just go missing is not good. Not good at all. Prosecutors later claimed LAPD had them, an inconsistency suggesting evidence of mismanagement or miscommunication. Prosecutors claim the LAPD still has the bullet fragments allegedly removed from Meg's foot, yet during preliminary hearing, the detective stated they were missing, which is what's going on here. If they had the fragments, why did the lead investigator testify in this manner? The chain of custody comes to question with such clear errors cast doubt on the integrity and completeness of the evidence. Well, saying it this way, though, makes it seem like maybe it's not an issue because you're saying you're hanging your entire hat for this claim on the investigator. Detective Ryan Stogner stated the fragments were missing, and that's what you're hanging your entire hat on here. This one investigator stated they were missing, and yes, we can see the transcript here. He did say that, but was he just wrong? Was he misinformed? As someone who is not the one directly handling, he's the one overseeing the people that handle it. Maybe he just didn't know the actual status of it. Maybe he thought they'd gone missing, but they actually hadn't. Because Meg's team did present an affidavit from an evidence custodian stating something to the effect of they did still have it. So still not entirely sure one way or another kind of what the status is on that. All right, Megan's faulty claims and medical records. All right, August 17th. So, remember, this happened in July. This is August 17th. She went to the club with an ace bandage on her left foot despite claiming to have been shot in both feet. Well, I mean, it could have been more severe to one foot than the other. Justifying the need for one bandage on one foot. That's not, that's all. Once again, that's not the end of the world there. She stated, testifying, was there a lot of pain afterwards? Yes, I couldn't walk for a while, and I couldn't feel the side of my left foot. So, as we're talking about, the left foot is the more injured one, apparently. Did you have nerve damage? Yes, I still have nerve damage. And what do you mean by that? I can't really feel the left side of my foot. Based on your experience, did you see anything that there was any nerve damage or any of those fragments penetrate and touch the nerve or any of that? Did you see anything like that? We did not identify any nerve involvement on the left side. this is the doctor testifying, it would seem, cross-examining him, saying, basically, just calling her credibility into question here. She's saying there's nerve damage. Doctor saying it's not really going to make or break the case. Yeah, that's not a huge inconsistency as far as, yeah, it's not going to sink the case. But still, I mean, still not good though. Still shows that maybe she's exaggerating a little bit, especially if you're healthy enough to go clubbing. Anyway, there's also no sign of nerve damage per doctor's testimony. Yep, okay. Moments that show Tory cared. Contrary to popular belief, Tory showed care and concern for Megan. All right, body cam footage after the arrest.
Address that the incident occurred, the shooting happened?
Nah, I don't know the address, bro. I was just trying to help my girlfriend. 1 second, bro.
Stay right here for me, bro.
Trying to help your girlfriend. Which girlfriend is that? You got two of them right there.
Hey, we got an ambulance coming for her, okay? Hey, bro, step up right here. We got an ambulance coming for her, all right?
So just a quick question.
It's gonna be good.
Do you have any injuries on you?
No, I don't.
Do you need an R?
Sure. I got to come for your friend now, okay?
Okay.
Do you want to talk about what happened tonight? Your girl to safety?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that seems consistent with kind of everyone's feeling on that night of, between Meg stating she stepped on the glass and Tory feeling bad about everything. No one really wanted to talk to the police about what really happened, but anyway. All right. Misinterpreted apology, what Tory really meant. Many pointed to Tory Lanez jail call as an admission of guilt in the shooting, but this is misrepresentation. It's publicly clarified that his apology was never about a shooting, but about the drama caused by sleeping with two close friends and getting caught. Acknowledged that his actions created a volatile situation, but firmly stated, I would never do anything like this. And yeah, this is exactly what I was saying. This was Meg's number one claim in her PowerPoint as to why he was guilty, was he admitted to it. He confessed, but his confessions were not him confessing to shooting anybody. It was just apologizing for, creating the situation that led to the fight that then led to the shooting. So, yeah, I fully with Tory on this side. All right, prosecutorial misconduct. Ooh, here we go. This is the good stuff. Mr. Prosecutor here. Let's see if this is anything I would ever do. All right, prosecutors intended to use Tory's rap lyrics, tattoos, and uncharged prior incidents to prejudice the jury. So, wait, they intended to use it? Did they or did they not use it? Because saying they intended to do so makes it sound like they actually did not use it. They merely intended to do so, but maybe were shut down. But mentioning Tory Lanez's right to not testify potentially violated his constitutional protections. True, there is prosecutor is firmly, strictly limited from ever mentioning defendant's right to remain silent. Can never do that, make any reference to that whatsoever. His choice to testify or not is protected constitutional right. Yep, Fifth Amendment. The fact that the defendant does not testify on his own behalf should not be fodder for the courts nor interpretation of guilt. So, okay. I don't like this at all, actually. In the sense that where's the source? Where's the authorities? You've got some pictures of Tory, fine enough looking man over here, but you're claiming prosecutors intended to do these things, but like I said earlier, did they intend to do so or did they actually do so? And if they did do so, what did they say? Like, show me the transcript. What did they actually do? What's the exhibit that came in that shouldn't have come in? I want to see that. And then mentioning his right to not testify. Did they do that? Did the prosecutors say that during the trial? Did they say that during their closing? Because I remember from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, the jury had to get excused at one point because the prosecutor mentioned Rittenhouse's right to remain silent, and the judge ripped into him, tore him a new one over because he saying, "Yeah, you know not to do that." So if the prosecutors did that, then where once again, where is it? Where's the transcript of what actually happened? So, not a fan of these claims of prosecutorial misconduct. Just show me the facts. What actually happened? All right, justice requires clarity, fairness, and facts, not assumptions. I agree. I agree with that final statement. Well, folks, that does it. That is the 36 Hours Later website. Certainly some new information that came out that I find quite interesting. Was it the slam dunk home run? Honestly, I was expecting it to be. Not quite. And I'm a little disappointed in that. I can appreciate the clips and the timelines and whatnot, and there was a lot of good stuff in here. yeah, really going through all the different elements of this, but kind of just like the way we left it off with these claims of prosecutorial misconduct, but you're going to claim it, but then you're not going to support it with any, like the whole way through. You did a great job showing medical records, showing excerpts from the transcript from the trial, like backing up your claims fairly well throughout the entire thing, but then you're going to end it with claims of prosecutorial misconduct and not show any authority to back that up. So that's just one example of a few of the different things that kind of stood out as like, that doesn't quite add up the way I'd like it to. But, oh, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling back through it again. The Meg and Kelsey fighting, the fact you're just going to show a couple blurry pictures showing like the claw marks, but there was more. There's more you could have done with that, and they didn't, or even back at the beginning with the timeline, just a little more specifics on what happened with the timeline. But all in all, though, no, I think this was a well done website. It was well put together. I think it largely does a good job advancing Tory's side of the case, and I can see why y'all wanted me to check it out, because yeah, I did learn a few new things as well. Am I convinced that she stepped on glass? Still not entirely. I'm still probably more believing of the fact that it was some bullet fragments in her feet. But I mean, that's kind of the nature of the system, is you never truly know. You do get to definitively know some of the facts, but some of the other facts, no, you can never know. So, but all in all, no, yeah, very interesting. So I appreciate the comments, appreciate y'all recommending this. If you enjoyed this video, once again, drop a like down below if you want me to make more videos covering this case. And if you like this kind of content, talking about these big high-profile cases, subscribe to come back for more. And of course, last but not least, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about the 36 Hours Later website and what you found compelling, what you found was lackluster. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say, and I'll be down in the comments chatting it up with y'all like always. But that is all for today's video. Thank you all for the support in covering this case, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next one.